Your Excellencies, members of Ifimes Council, members of Ifimes, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, allow me to welcome you in the name of International Institute for Middle East and Balkan Studies, Ifimes from Ljubljana, the organizer of today's presentations of the book entitled Communicating Sustainability. We are honored to have with us today Senator Marc Pacheco from Massachusetts, who is co-editor of the book and also a member of the Ifimes Advisory Board. The book, Communicating Sustainability, is a result of the Sustainable Future campaign, which was launched by United Nations Youth and Student Associated Academic Forum for Foreign Affairs in Austria. The idea was to bring people with different backgrounds, professionals, and ideas to talk about development and sustainability. Senator Pacheco is a climate messenger of the Climate Reality Project founded by Al Gore, former American Vice President, and chairman of the Massachusetts Senate Committee on Global Warming and Climate Change. Together with Mr. Joseph Mantel, spokesman of the Sustainable Future Campaign and Vice President of United Nations Youth and Student Associations, and Mr. Alexander Oaks, Director of Climate and Energy Program at the World Watch Institute in Washington, D.C. He invited a number of authors to write an article expressing personal insight and professional view on sustainability. The result is a book which offers a reader a full range of different perspectives, topics, and ideas how to focus on global problems. Senator Pacheco will center his presentations on the chapter that he wrote about what is done in Massachusetts in terms of changing law to put in place policies to protect the climate and provide initiatives to create growth in the so-called green economy. The presentation of book will be given in English. It will be followed by a discussion with Senator Pacheco, moderated by my colleague Bakhtiar Alaf and myself, Ziad Bechirovich. And now I give the floor to Senator Pacheco. Welcome.
Thank you very, very much. And let me just begin by thanking the Institute and my two colleagues here for reaching out to me a while ago to be an advisory member of the Institute's board. I have been paying close attention to the work of the Institute and what has been taking place over the last few years, and I must say that I have been very impressed with the quality of the work that has been released from the Institute, many of the studies that have been published, and the opportunity for a civil discourse on a whole range of issues. I am here today because I have been in the region. I came into the region via Vienna a few days ago to be here as the first C ambassador for the Sustainable Entrepreneur Awards that were being held in Vienna. And I have been meeting with a number of private sector companies that are involved with the green energy economy here in Europe. And I will be having further meetings as this week unfolds. I will be going back to Austria at the beginning of the week and have a meeting planned next week with the Vice Chancellor and the Minister for Foreign Affairs, along with Joseph Mantel. I want to say just a bit about Joseph Mantel, who is a co-editor of this book. He is quite a leader, I have found, in in Austria, in particular around the issue of sustainability. He has created, along with the United Nations Youth and Student Association, this organization called the Sustainable Future Campaign. And the Sustainable Future Campaign focuses on sustainability. And we thought it would be a good idea to take a look at sustainability from a variety of perspectives, political, economic, social, and ask some of the leaders, including one of the European commissioners, Commissioner Hahn, actually participated with a article himself in this publication to speak to the issue of sustainability. As has been mentioned in my introduction, I will focus my comments this afternoon on sustainability as it pertains to what I have been involved with in Massachusetts, and how there was to put it nicely, a little bit of debate about whether or not we as a government should be investing in sustainability in terms of moving forward with more green technologies and having the government actually subsidize, to a certain extent, renewable energy technologies. Many people were saying that we would actually impact the job growth in Massachusetts, that it would be detrimental to the economy, and we would not create as many jobs as we would have if we continued on with the status quo in terms of investments in energy policy. I am pleased to say that if you look at what we have done in the past few years, I would hope when you have an opportunity to read this chapter, you will find that Massachusetts is now leads the United States as #1 in energy efficiency. We are saving ratepayers a lot of money on their energy bills. We've created a lot of jobs in the private sector as a result of these investments, and we have lowered our carbon footprint. We've done that in part because of a series of pieces of legislation that we passed in Massachusetts. We passed an oceans management bill. As you know, Massachusetts is on the East Coast, and there has been some discussion about offshore wind turbines and where they should be placed and where they should not be placed, and that led us to the discussion and the policy of actually putting in place regulations so that we can zone effectively where we would make investments and where we should not make investments, balancing the natural environment issues like fisheries and protecting of the ocean, coral, etc. There's a whole range of issues that I'll leave to the scientists, but we wanted to make sure from a public policy perspective we actually zoned the areas from the shore out 3 miles so we could look at moving forward where we could with offshore wind, with wave energy, with other types of technology. We've also passed legislation that was called the Global Warming Solutions Act, where we actually set carbon emission standards, where we set goals that are achievable goals to lower our carbon emissions and our greenhouse gas emissions below the 1990 levels. And the legislation that passed in Massachusetts sets forth a number of up to 25% below the 1990 levels by 2020. Right now, as a result of a report that just came out yesterday, we're on track to actually make 27% below the 1990 levels by 2020, which is significant. It's well beyond any other state in the United States, and it surpasses, if they're achieved, those numbers are surpassing many of the other European states that have also set, goals, themselves. It's unfortunate. Obviously, the issue of climate change, in my opinion, is an extremely important issue. Probably one of the most important issues we can deal with in the world community, because it's not just an environmental issue. It is a public health issue. It is a national security issue. It is an issue that deals with our public safety. It's an issue that deals with our economy. The Chinese have a saying about crisis. When they use the characters to write crisis, one character symbolizes opportunity, and the other symbolizes danger. And we are, in fact, in a dangerous period if we do nothing. The cost of inaction to our society is tremendous. But the opportunity, if we do something, if we move forward, is quite significant. And let me give you a few examples why. In the chapter, I speak to the pieces of legislation that have passed. I've just mentioned two pieces, but we had a piece of legislation that actually provided incentives to governments and to companies, and set forth standards for energy producing companies. For example, we set forth renewable portfolio standards so that generators would need to have a portfolio of renewable energy projects that they have invested in. So to try to stimulate the traditional fossil fuel industry to actually begin the process of investing in renewable energy technologies. We passed a green jobs bill to prepare young people for the new types of technology opportunities that would be out there. And as I said, we passed the Global Warming Solutions Act. We also have a regional agreement with the New England states and in the Northeast, dealing with the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which is essentially a cap-and-trade system within the northeast part of the United States. As a result of passing these laws, and as a result of moving forward, our greenhouse gas emissions have dropped significantly. Of course, the recession helped a little bit. We wish that wasn't a big part of it, but it certainly is a part of it everywhere, almost in the world. But over and above that, we have seen significant drop in our greenhouse gas emissions, primarily in the area of energy efficiency. We have moved forward rapidly in this area. There was a company, I'll just give you a name of a company. Next Step is the name of the company, and they're in the energy efficiency business in Massachusetts. When they started, they only had an idea. This was just about 3 or 4 years ago. Today they have 500 employees. They've created significant amount of jobs, and their business is all about going into the existing built environment, the residential environment, going through doing energy audits, showing residents how they can save money on their energy bill, actually going in and doing the work, and then the individuals are reaping the savings. If I thought it wouldn't be a bad term, I would say that it's almost like the modern day type of gold rush. There is actually money to be mined in energy efficiency. So companies can make a profit, we can lower our carbon footprint, and we can create jobs at the same time. And that's what this company has done. It's one example. There are hundreds of examples, to the extent that over the last several years, we've seen private sector job growth in Massachusetts increase almost 10,000 jobs per year, because we have chosen to invest in the green economy. 10,000 a year. It's almost, it's close to 71,000 private sector jobs now that have been created in part because of the regulations that have been put in place. Because these laws have not only set in place a standard that needs to be adhered to, but it's provided an incentive for the private sector to move to achieve these goals. As a result of achieving these goals, it's become quite evident that these companies can also make money achieving these goals. And as a result of that, we're starting to see the unleashing of a new, clean, green, energy efficient type of economy. And I like to say that is greening up the bottom line. It's not only good for the economy, it's not only good for the environment, it shows that you can have environment as a good goal in terms of having a quality environment without sacrificing a good and progressive economy when it's done correctly with a lot of the new technologies. I'll give you an example as to why we are doing this in Massachusetts and why Massachusetts, California, New Jersey, New York State, so many states in the United States, although it hasn't happened at the national level yet, regrettably, but our president is trying to move forward on this to aggressively deal with the issue of climate change. He has tried to work with the Congress on this issue to make sure that we're dealing with the issue of climate change. But the leadership and the success rates are coming from the states in the United States. And for those that know a little bit about our system of government, it is not exactly the same as others in the world. It's not easy sometimes to get a national policy passed. Sometimes it has to be effective and in place at a state level first. And we're starting to see that happen, where the states are able to point to their successes, and now the national government is able to look at successful implementation of policy at the state level. And we're coming very close to a tipping point where we will soon, within the next few years, I hope, get a consensus at the national level to move forward more aggressively on the issue of climate change. I know the European community in particular has been disappointed somewhat that the U.S. has not been able to move forward quickly on this issue. But I would like to just remind people that each individual state within the United States is quite significant in economy by itself. If you look at California, for example, as one state, it is one of the 10, somewhere, I'm not sure exactly where it is this month, but it's within the top 10 economies in the U.S., in the world rather, California, as a separate economy. And so when you look at that and you see how far California has moved with climate change related issues, if you look and see what Massachusetts has done, what the Northeast states are doing, what states like New York and New Jersey in particular, I will say to you today that those states like New York, New Jersey, that were just impacted significantly by Hurricane Sandy in the U.S., with damages that cost in excess of $65 billion, $65 billion, that they will be doubling down on making sure that they're dealing with the issue of climate change. Because these extreme weather events that we're seeing, we believe, and the Climate Reality Project and other groups and organizations that I've dealt with around climate believe that these events are becoming that much more significant in terms of their power. Because with the warming of the oceans, we're seeing more powerful storms. And that will have significant consequences if we do not do something to try to cut back on that. So in Massachusetts, we looked at this also from an economic perspective. Right now, we spend about $28 billion a year purchasing energy. $28 billion that we buy energy from all kinds of sources, both in-state and out-of-state. Actually, about $22 billion of that comes from outside of Massachusetts. And a significant amount of it comes from outside of the United States of America. So we decided to take a look at it from an economic perspective. The more we can shift that money back into Massachusetts, we would then be reinvesting, not only purchasing the energy that we need for a good economy, but we'd be reinvesting right back into our own state, right back into our own economy. It only makes sense. That's true in a state. It's also true in a nation. It's also true in regions, of the world. And that's why we as a world community need to do so much more on this issue, because it makes good sense for our economy, for our public health. It also makes tremendous sense in terms of creating jobs. And when we look at, it's somewhat ironic that when we think about where we have been in a recessionary economy, whether we look at what we had been through in Massachusetts or what the United States has been through, what Europe continues to struggle with in general, the Asian countries have struggled with, we still need to look at that new economy. What is that new economy? In the United States, we went from an agricultural-based type system to a industrial-based system to a technology, now high technology, biotechnology. And what's next? What's next is already here. It's the new energy economy. It's a new energy economy that is booming, and if we have the right policies, both at a state level at a national level, and hopefully, worldwide, we can start to see a significant change, not only in saving our planet together, but also in creating a whole new set of technologies that will create jobs for the future. Let me close with just a couple of real-world examples. There is a company in Massachusetts called Enternoc. And for years, the way we looked at generation for energy, taking care of energy needs, is the more we needed energy, we'd build another plant. We build a coal plant, or we build a plant fired by gas or oil, or whichever way you want to build the generation, we just need more generation, right? But we usually need the generation for the peak use periods of power. Peak use. And ironically enough, there's a company that looked at this from a different perspective. Well, if we're building all of this generation for mostly peak use, and you're only using the generation when you're dealing with peak, that peak power actually becomes very expensive, because you're paying for it, for the opportunity to be able to generate it, even at times when a plant is not even generating energy, because you're paying for the employees, you're paying for the technology, etc. So this company went at it in a completely different way. They went out to big energy users in the Northeast first, like big retail stores, big restaurants that may have refrigeration units, that use a lot of energy. And they went in and they wired them all up. They went through and they hooked up all the lighting systems. They took technology and tied it to computers in an office in Boston, and they pay the host sites annually a fee for the ability to utilize their energy when there was demand, where they could lower maybe their lights a little bit. Maybe the lights will be dimmed by 20%. The refrigeration may go off for an hour. And at the end of the day, they were able to meet peak energy demands. And so they bid into the grid now. We have a system where we have put in place a least cost procurement. In other words, the lowest energy cost would be the cost that would get the bid to provide energy into the grid in New England. Well, the least costly kilowatt hour is the one you don't have to use, right? So we've seen this be so successful that this company is taking off all over the United States now, and I understand is probably looking at Europe, and there are a number of other companies like that that deal with demand side reduction of energy. When demand is going up, they're able to actually decrease some of the demand somewhere else to balance out the system. And that's one example of a new company that is out there on the market today. I know that there's been some exciting things that have been done here in Slovenia. I know that there's been amazing work done in Germany and Austria. I was explaining on my earlier meeting today with a group of young people in the Foreign Affairs club for Austria. And I was explaining to them what has just been done in Germany, where they have been working with an organizational tool called an ESCO, or it's a type of company that comes in, and they will guarantee that your energy bill does not go up at all. they asked to take over the systems and actually invest in the systems. Come in, replace all the lighting, put in new heating systems, possibly, depending upon their audit. Look at ways in which a building can become more energy efficient. And they've saved literally hundreds of millions of dollars for many of the customers that they have deployed this technology in. So my chapter speaks to how government policy combined with deploying technology can actually create an economic outcome that is better than if you hadn't done it at all. Much better and much more sustainable into the future, especially when you're creating as part of it an opportunity for solar or wind or geothermal or other types of technologies that would be running essentially from Mother Nature. And that's what we have been dealing with in Massachusetts. That's what the chapter speaks to. I talk about the politics of building a sustainable future. That's the title of the chapter, because it was a political chore to get the policies passed. People on the far right of this issue, people that were tied to the traditional fossil fuel industry, would fight these policies going into place. They said that we would lose jobs as a result of passing these pieces of legislation. Today in Massachusetts, the unemployment rate is, I haven't looked at it this week, but it's around 6%. A little over, it might be just slightly higher than 6%. Comparatively, when you look at other states in the U.S., we are on the low end of unemployment, which is a good place to be. We've had our ups and downs like everyone else has, but we're on good, solid footing, and we're moving ahead. And one of the pieces of our economy that are actually growing in double digits, we've been having 10, 11% growth in jobs in this one sector that I'm talking about. And so I am here to spread the word that the United States is moving forward on climate change. For those that may see no hope, for the U.S. moving forward, I want you to know that we are moving forward. It's state by state, but when you add those states up collectively, we're close to a third to half of the EU when you start to look at the actual population numbers. In the central part of the states, where we have a lot of opposition from some of the political leaders there, in some of those states there are actually more cows than people, right? So when you look at the population numbers of California, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, we continue to go on, and we see what some of these industrial states are actually doing to change the policy. We are moving forward. And I can tell you that when these facts start to come out in America, where we know that these policies make sense and they're actually creating jobs, and this sector of the economy is doing well, people will want to invest. My final point is investment capital actually is following government policy. So the venture capital funds, the angel funds, have actually moved substantially to Massachusetts now, because they want to invest in this future economy with something that they know makes money. If you're in an energy efficiency company, you can almost not make money, and so it is very exciting to see what is taking place. My co-editors and other authors in the book take a look at communicating sustainability from different perspectives, looking at sustainability from a social perspective, looking at sustainability from other economic perspectives, environmental perspective, and there are some interesting articles in this book. But we just thought we wanted to take all of the existing work that had been done by the Sustainable Future Campaign, which I must say has been significant. And I've played a very limited role in that campaign because it's been mostly young, excited, futuristic-looking young people associated with the United Nations Youth and Student Association that see the future of the world that's going to be left to them if nothing gets done. They're looking at it from that perspective. I would suggest that's probably a healthy perspective for all of us to look at our planet, because it is the only planet that we have. There's not another one that I know of that we can move to right away, and so it's important for us to take care of it from an environmental perspective, but it's also true we need to take care of it from a public health perspective. When we look at the asthma rates of what's happened with pollution and how that impacts our health, cancer rates, and the list goes on and on. It makes good economic sense. It moves us away from the danger and the worst aspects of climate change, and it provides us a new opportunity to have better public health, to have a better opportunity for our children of the world to inherit a better space within which to live. So I want to thank the Institute for giving me this opportunity to address you, and I understand we're going to have some dialogue now, and be glad to answer some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Senator, for this review. You have, I think, one review, but it's useful also to tell that the only one chapter is in English language, the other chapters in German language.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, this is useful to tell about this. Now I have one. The first question is with two parts. The first is the green energy economy in southeastern Europe. I am talking now. And I am thinking about the post-conflict sustainability exactly in this region. And how can the United States of America to help this region with investment in green energy projects, in renewable source of energy like solar, hydro or winds? And I think it's very important because with this we can to create jobs in this region, which you know more about this, that they suffered for 5 years of wars in the early 90s.
Well, let me tell you what a project called C40 that is coming out of the Clinton Climate Initiative and the mayor of New York City, Mayor Bloomberg, have started, and they were trying originally to get 40 cities in the world to sign up to become green cities. And because of the models that I spoke about earlier, the different technology models, if you have an existing built environment, and I must admit in some of the regions, that some of the areas within the regions you're talking about, I haven't physically been on the ground to view some of the infrastructure. But in some of the existing built environment, there is a significant opportunity with limited government funding to be able to move forward based upon some of the models that are being created with this example. The example I gave about Germany is a model that has been created that's come out of the C40 project, and how they have worked with some of these companies. So I think that one of the best things that could happen right now, even for those areas in the world that are rebuilding or moving forward with future economic development, that it's a matter of how one builds as well. Because if you're building today, you really want to look to building for the future, and, so that you're building truly a sustainable type of structure that will actually cost less in the long run and be less dependent upon some of the traditional fossil fuels, which have taken some parts of the world community and unfortunately pitted them against one another sometimes because of that. And so when you have distributive energy, it's very powerful, moving forward. In terms of the U.S. and its assistance, I can tell you that, as you know, the U.S. has tried to be very active in its assistance in a number of different ways with programs like the Millennium Challenge Fund, programs that we've worked with a number of countries. And I would say I would urge the governmental leaders to be working with the State Department, the international community, the UN, others, and those opportunities that can be there will be there, given the concerns and the extent of availability of capital that there are for all governments, including the United States. But I think paying attention to the new models that are coming out and partnering with these new models, I think is very important, because there's a way to generate, and I don't know the energy makeup of some of the communities that you may reference. I can tell you, for example, that I can tell you this only because I've just learned it this week with my visit so far. In Austria, for example, a number of the clean tech companies that have been created, and how they're working together to create a green valley in the Graz region of Austria. And there are a number of businesses that are actually talking with me now about potentially coming to the U.S. and then having U.S. Ventures coming back to that region, so we can create more partnerships, more opportunities that go back and forth. And these types of partnerships are important, whether they are energy-based partnerships or educational-based partnerships. I think the opportunity to do that in with and between any of the countries would be extremely helpful, because the more that we create these partnerships and a better understanding of the problems that we're facing, I can tell you that in some of the poorest African nations, and the issues around water, for example, and the new opportunities to bring in technology that will actually help take water that may have been contaminated and turn it into water that would be usable. Those types of things are so important, and that technology is available. It's structuring a communication system to work back and forth with those that would be interested in doing that. There are a lot of organizations in the U.S. that are not necessarily governmental. They're non-governmental organizations that spend a lot of time and money working in developing nations and trying to help nations get on their feet with the basics of agriculture, food, water, some of the basic issues, and then getting up to the next level and the next level and the next level, depending upon what types of needs other governments have. But we've always tried to be there in the past and trying to be helpful, and I would say that our government is going to try to do that as much as possible. I know personally the new Secretary of State for the United States, John Kerry. He was a Massachusetts U.S. Senator for a number of years. I worked very closely with him over the years. He's a very seasoned diplomat and leader, but he's in the basic human condition. He is a good human being, and so he would want to do the right thing by the countries in the world, and that's why when he was chair of the Foreign Service Committee, he was for investing in helping countries in the world. So let's see what happens as that moves forward.
Can I ask this now? As I understand, who will begin here? Who must to begin the first? Now the government, industry, or the non-government organization? Now I'm talking about our region, about Slovenia, for example. Who must to begin the first step now?
In terms of sustainability related issues? Well, I mean, ultimately it would be wonderful if, as I said in my chapter, what we did is there were a number of private sector companies and NGOs
together
that were working anyway. They were going forward, and they were telling the government, they were telling me, that the best thing I could do is to put in place governmental policies that made sure that there were standards put in place that everybody had to achieve, because that provided the incentive for their work to actually take hold. And so it's a combination of all of them. But what really made a difference in Massachusetts is when we passed the governmental policies. When the governmental policies were passed that were fair and were achievable, we started to see our economy take off, because people then got into the business where they knew that that's where the government wanted to, see the economy go.
Thank you. Do you have any question?
Yes.
Please.
My name is Marian Cerar. America is my second home country, because my grandfather used to live in Chicago. He is as well buried there. Then my aunt as well was buried there, and two cousins. So I'm very interested what is going on with you in America. So thank you for coming here, Senator. I have one...
In Chicago, you said? Chicago?
Yes.
Okay.
Chicago. He's buried on the St. Mary's Cemetery. And one American question I would like to have and one Slovenian. First, American one. Massachusetts, or Mass, is in a way smaller state, right? And you said that you invested in sustainable technologies $21 billion. Is this true?
No, that's not correct. No, what I was saying is that our state, in terms of purchasing energy,
yes,
not necessarily renewable energy,
yes,
just the cost of the economy is about $28 billion.
Altogether.
Altogether.
Oh, I see.
So our energy costs
Okay, I see.
are about $28 billion.
Now investments in this, let's say, very sustainable green technology are made by which kind of capital? Is this private capital? Is this of the state of Massachusetts? Or is it on the national level?
Very little from the national level, although they have put in some resources. For example, if you were to have bought a green technology automobile, you would get a tax credit.
Yes.
That would be against the purchase.
So they're helping this by reducing...
They're giving, that's right, they're helping them a little bit.
Yes.
So if you purchase this type of car, then we're going to give you a tax credit. So the real answer to your question is all of them. All of them. There's private capital, there's government investment, there's some federal government investment, but the overwhelming majority of the investment is from the private sector.
Enterprises or funds.
Private enterprises that ultimately would know that the return on investment would ultimately be there.
Lower costs, etc.
Because it's really the financing of that investment
Yes.
that has been so crucial. Obviously, if you put solar, on the roof, or if you're using solar thermal, over a period of time, that when your investment capital has been paid off, then the energy is free.
Yes.
After that, you have some maintenance, but your energy is free. The same thing with wind, and the same thing with wave technology, etc. So, but it's the financing, the traditional financing that is taking place. That needs to be the markets now, the banks, for example, now understand, that their loans, they know about how long these types of technologies will pay off, so that you get a return on the investment. It takes a while in starting any new technology, but it actually today in America there are more renewable energy technology jobs,
You said.
in the green technology sector than there is in the fossil fuel industry, believe it or not.
Tell me a little bit in more details, how is this ruling legislation concerning sustainability? Is this done in your state, in Massachusetts, or is it on national level?
No, we did it in our state. We did it in our state.
Massachusetts laws and so on.
It's Massachusetts laws because we were frustrated that the national government
Nothing.
had not acted, just like I know a lot of people here are probably frustrated that our national government has not acted, right? And so we were frustrated that the government had not acted, and so we went ahead at the state level. California went ahead at the state level. New Jersey went ahead at the state level. And so on and so on. A lot of the states in America is my message to you today. And it's really the message in this book is that the politics of building a sustainable future in America is happening one state at a time.
Can you say
It's really been significant in terms of the change that has taken place.
A good example for the whole states area?
I think, the Massachusetts system right now is a good example, quite frankly, for the world. Because I told you we are on track to be 27% below the 1990 levels by 2020. I really don't know of another entity out there that is on track to meet that standard. And we're also doing other things with water quality, with Matt, I'll give you an example. Before America had a Clean Air Act, Massachusetts did. Before America had a Clean Water Act, Massachusetts did. So the politics of building a national policy comes from, in our country, comes from the experiments in the States.
It must be so because you have MIT, for instance.
Well, MIT has had a lot to do with it. MIT is an amazing institution that...
yes, now to Slovenia, if you permit me, okay?
Yes.
We have a very...
I'll know a little bit less about that, though. I will try.
A very big discussion, big national conflict, erecting a very dear thermal power station based on coal of quite low quality, lignite, we have it. On the other hand, we want to erect a nuclear power Westinghouse station. What would you say? How would you recommend, or should you be the Prime Minister on this issue?
Well, that's a question that can get me in a lot of trouble. I usually would wait till I leave the country before I answer that question. Let me tell you what I am doing in America about the same question. How about if I answer it that way?
Okay, better.
This is what I actually am doing as a state senator in America about the issue.
Deciding on national level?
No, the state level.
State level.
State level, which is we are a state that has about 6.5 million people.
Okay.
So it is very similar to a lot of the European Union states.
Yes.
Right? And so
Denmark.
And so when we look at the future of coal can be very inexpensive if you don't price carbon.
Yes.
Once you start to price carbon, coal could be very expensive.
Yes.
When you look at the price in your health care, the price in your insurance, the price in your, all of the things dealing with carbon. So that's simply my point, is that we're trying to pass laws. We really don't allow new coal to take place in Massachusetts.
Yes.
We are now looking at we are looking at clean coal technology, but I'm willing to listen and willing to look at how this technology could be so-called clean coal technology, but it will take a little bit to prove that to me, and I'd like to see how it actually
Very difficult.
Works. So the emissions are something we are very concerned about. Now, nuclear energy. I am somebody that lives not too far from an Entergy facility that is housed in Plymouth, Massachusetts. It's a nuclear power plant. I was in France not too long ago to see how France is utilizing their nuclear waste, actually recycling it. They recycle it once, so that they use the fuel systems really twice. And their storage facilities are very, very interesting, the way that they're utilizing their power. But the costs associated with nuclear over the life cycle are significant. It's very expensive. So on both sides of the scenario, if I could add a couple of other choices instead of just coal and nuclear, if I had the choices between coal and nuclear or wind, or a combination of geothermal, solar plants, which are significant today. We're having a huge amount of energy that is being produced by solar plants. So what we're doing in Massachusetts is we're moving away from coal. We're maintaining what's going on with nuclear, but we're very concerned about the lack of investment that the existing nuclear facility has put into itself, to upgrade the standards for public safety.
And you are not erecting new ones?
No. I'll tell you what I would be open to is the type of nuclear technology that cannot be utilized or deployed. The good thing about it is it wouldn't be able to be deployed for other uses, if you know what I mean. In terms of the smaller facilities that they are now generating. I don't know a lot about them, but I do know that it's something that has been meeting some success in terms of being able to generate energy, efficiently, without the huge costs associated with the traditional, nuclear power facility, and at the same time having the inability to have that source enriched to be used for something that would, none of us, I don't think, would want to see. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A jeszcze kakšno vprašanje? Ni. Ziad, please.
I hope you enjoyed this presentation and discussion as much as I did. I would like to thank Senator Pacheco for his contribution to better understanding of the global problem, especially sustainability. At the end, I would like to invite you all to the next lecture. Our guest will be Mr. Zoran Živković, former Prime Minister of Republic of Serbia and Vice President of the Ifimes Advisory Board. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.